So we're going to start in a few minutes. Just wait for people to tune in. Thank you very much. This is actually my first Facebook Live video. Hi there, Carol. Thank you for the message. I'm actually seeing the number of people shoot up. So 60 people have tuned in. Fantastic. Nearly 70. When I had this idea last week, I put this. I thought I'd get about 5 or 10 people to tune in. So now there's 80 people already. Fantastic. Thank you all so much. If you wanna tell me where you are. Stoke-on-Trent, we've got there. Fantastic. Hitchin, Surrey. Wow. Harrow. Fantastic. People all across the country. Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you. This is lovely. Fantastic. We're over 100 people now. We'll just give it one more minute. I know it's a sunny day outside, and so I really appreciate you all tuning in. It really means a lot to me, and it's a huge surprise, actually. So thank you. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments here. 113, fantastic. They're still going up, so people are still tuning in. Amazing. Is there anyone from another country other than the UK? Anyone from Hartlepool? That's where I'm originally from. I don't suppose there's anyone from Hartlepool on there, is there? No, not yet. So people are still tuning in. Nearly 150 people now. Fantastic. 150. Amazing. So we'll give it one more minute and then we'll make a start. And I will keep this to about 30 minutes. We may run over for 2 or 3 minutes, but I hope that's okay. But you can, of course, tune out whenever you want to. So I think we're stabilizing slightly, although numbers are still going up. But I think we will make a start. Yeah, people are still tuning in. Good luck. Thank you. I think that was from someone called Claire saying, good luck. I need it. Thank you. Just reading our Hornchurch, up in Norwood, London, Hitchin, Edinburgh, Malta. Fantastic. Isle of Man. Wow. Hoddesdon, Suffolk, Orpington. Wow, amazing. Isaac from Hartlepool. Fantastic. Hello, Isaac. Excellent. So I think people are still tuning in. We've got someone from Hoddesdon. Hi, Max and Mary. You're not far from where I am. Excellent. So let's make a start. People are still tuning in, but you can always watch. So these videos will be posted on my Facebook page immediately after the event. And also I will be putting them up on my YouTube page. So good afternoon, I'm R.A. Powell and welcome to the first workshop on creative writing for children. Just want to make sure that you've all got a pen or a pencil and some paper in front of you just to so you can take lots of notes, because one of the key things about creative writing is we're basically taking information from our brains, the ideas that we have, our imaginations, and we're transferring it down onto some paper or a computer. So it's really important that you write lots of things down, take lots of notes. And if there was one tip I could give to anyone, any of you out there who are really keen on creative writing and you enjoy writing stories, is to take a little notepad around with you. And so when an idea pops into your head, write it down, because our brains are these incredible things. They never stop. And you might have an idea that pops into your head and then 2 seconds later, that idea is gone and you're thinking about something completely different. So always try and write things down. So I'm an author. I've published 2 books so far. I'm currently working on book number 3, which will be out in a couple of months. CEO is my latest book. And Odd Socks is my first book. Sorry, I'm not doing the camera angles very good there. I had a fantastic time in writing both of these books. As you can see, oh, that's upside down. You can tell I'm a novice at this first book live stuff. So these are quite chunky books. They're kind of 250 pages, about 37,000 words, so a fair amount for a children's book. But I had such a fantastic time writing both of these stories, creating the characters, writing the story, the narrative, thinking about how the characters can interact with each other. And I love nothing more than sitting down and just letting my imagination run wild. And now that we're all at home for a little bit more than usual, now is a really good time for you to practice your creative writing, but also generally just to be creative, whether you like to draw, to paint, to play musical instruments. Now is a really good time while you're at home to practice all of these things. I would say creative writing, first and foremost, you've got to do it just for you. It's got to be something that you just enjoy and you do it for your own pleasure. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks about your writing. Just do it first and foremost for you. One of the things I always try and do as well is to get into a kind of creative frame of mind. And so we're going to do a couple of activities during this workshop, which can help you to just get your brain working. Because sometimes we can sit down and write and, inspiration can be quite hard to come by sometimes. If that happens to you, don't worry, it happens to everybody. It certainly happens to me. And what I always do is I'll kind of step away, do something completely different, and then come back to my writing later. There is some structure we can apply to our creative writing. So think of writing a story a bit like baking a cake. There are some key ingredients that we can include in our writing, which can give it flavour, personality, and a bit of adventure. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to talk about 6 ingredients that we can include in our stories. Number 1, which is what we're going to be doing today, is characterization, and I'll talk more about that very shortly. Next week, we're going to cover settings. So this is the environment in which the story is told. Week number 3, we're going to cover plot and narrative. So that's basically the story. What's it about? How does the story fit together? What are the twists and turns we can include in a story which can keep our reader, the people who are reading our stories, engaged? Week number 4, we're going to cover dialogue. So this is essentially how the characters talk to each other and how we describe that in a story. Week number 5 is theme. So lots of stories have themes. So you get romantic stories, funny stories, sci-fi, adventure, but also lots of stories have an underlying message. So they may be about hope or love or doing the right thing. So week number 5 will cover all of that. And then finally, in week number 6, we'll be bringing all of those things together and also talking about visual descriptions. So essentially how we can describe in our stories the characters, the setting, the environment, to really bring our stories to life so we can transport the people who read our stories into our world. So while each workshop will focus on one particular ingredient, we will cover elements of other ingredients in each workshop. So for example, today we're going to talk about characterization, but we will also cover some elements of dialogue and visual descriptions. And so the aim of this course, whether you've never written a story before, this course can hopefully help you to take those first steps and to write a story. But if you are an avid, passionate, creative writer and you love writing stories, hopefully you will pick up some tips and tricks to improve your creative writing. And as I mentioned in the lead up to this, we would like all participants, or as many as possible, to write starting today or this week, and by the end of the 6 weeks to write a 1,000 word story. So I appreciate there's some younger children tuning in, so don't worry about the 1,000 words. It can be much less. Speak to your parents or your family or your carers and decide on the right word length for you. But the aim is to write a story starting now and finish by the end of 6 weeks. And I will talk more about that at the end of this workshop. So we're going to cover characterization for the first workshop. And what that means is basically the process of creating characters. Characters are central to any story. Just imagine your favorite book that you've ever read and imagine that book without characters. It would be pretty dull and pretty boring. So characters make us feel something as a reader. We sometimes really like characters, or sometimes we dislike characters. And so they're really important to a story. So to get you warmed up as an activity, I would like you to tell me who your favorite character is. It could be a character from a TV show, from a book, from a film, from anything that you've seen. Please can you tell me who your favorite character is? If you can write it in the comments box below, have a think and see who your favorite character is. And this is an activity to get you started on thinking about why. Why is that character your favorite? So I can see the comments are starting to come in now. Fantastic. Excellent, thank you. Oh, they're coming in now. Brilliant. Horrid Henry. Is that a character or is that a person who's tuning in? I'm not sure. That was a joke. Lionel Messi. Right, interesting. Well, he is a character, I guess. August Pullman from Wonder. Wow, Dirk Gently, Timmy Failure. Harry Potter. Joy from Friends. Great. I used to love Joy from Friends. Excellent. So now that you've told me who your favorite characters are, something you could think about later on in your own time is to sit down and write down the name of the character and then make a list of all of the things that you really like about that character. And this is the process of us starting to think about what makes a character and how we can create our own character, because they make us feel something in a story. And we have those feelings because the writer, the author, has brought to life that character. They've described the character in a way in which we feel like we know. And if we can do that in our stories, then we're gonna do well. And so when we develop characters, there are 4 things that we can think about. So I'm going to list all 4 things, but then I'm going to talk about each of them in more detail. But it would be worth writing these down. So loads more characters coming in. Fantastic. Few Harry Potters. Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah, lots of Cinderella. Wow, good one. Christmasaurus. Yeah, we've read that in our house. Fantastic. So going back to, sorry, I was being distracted by the comments. So when we develop characters, there are 4 things that we can take into consideration. So number 1 is, what do the characters say? And that's what we call dialogue. And we've got a whole separate workshop on that in the next few weeks. So that's number 1, what the characters say. Number 2 is, what do the characters do? What are the actions they take in the story? Number 3 is, how do we describe the characters? How do we bring them to life for the reader? And then number 4 is, how is the character seen by other characters? So the relationship between each character. So number 1, let's dive a little deeper. So what the characters say in a story. So for example, let's create a character called Tony. Tony is very kind. He's very caring. He's a very helpful character. So the words, the text, the dialogue that Tony will speak and say in the story will generally be positive and supportive. He will probably say things which encourage his friends or support his friends in the story. And then on the flip side of that, if we create a character, let's call her Jenny. No offense to anyone called Jenny who's tuned in. This is just kind of random. But if Jenny is an evil character, then generally the things that Jenny says in the story will generally, she might lie, she might say nasty things, she might play tricks on people. So generally the dialogue for Jenny will reflect her character. Because just imagine if we want Tony to be this kind and caring character, but throughout the story, He's saying all of these horrible things. It wouldn't make sense to the reader. So by virtue of what the characters say in a story, it kind of tells the reader, the person who's reading our story, a little bit about the character. It helps the reader to get to know our character. Number two, what does the character do? What are the actions the character takes in the story? So again, let's dive a little deeper. Actions are arguably more important than what the character says in a story. Again, if Tony, our kind and helpful character, is always doing horrible things, it wouldn't make much sense. If he was doing bad things to his friends, or he was lying about his friends, it wouldn't really make much sense, given we're trying to portray him as a kind and helpful character. And likewise with Jenny, our evil character, if she was always going around and helping the elderly lady cross the road and volunteering and supporting others, it wouldn't quite make sense. Of course, there may be part of the story where Jenny is deliberately being kind so she can trick people at a later stage, and that's a whole different scenario. But generally, in a story, we want the actions the character takes to reflect their personality and who they are. So that's what the characters say and what the characters do. Number three, how are they described? So we've got to bring to life the characters for our reader. So what do they look like? Are they tall? Are they short? Are they big? Are they thin? So we want to describe the characters to our reader, and so they can visualize in their heads what they look like. So for example, when a character is saying something, you could include a line. So this is Tony. You could say, Tony raised his kind eyes and smiled. This immediately gives you images of Tony with, kind, big eyes, a nice smile on his face, and it plays into his overall character. But with Jenny, we could say, Jenny swept the hair from her face and scowled. And again, this plays into Jenny's overall character. So we can use visual descriptions. And again, we've got a whole workshop on that right at the end of the course to help bring the characters to life for the reader. So we want to tell them what they look like, but also what type of personality they are. Is a character a leader? Are they a commanding presence? Or are they someone who's quiet, thoughtful, and likes to fade into the background? Again, we want to bring that to life for the reader. And then finally, number four, so how is the character seen by the other characters? So this is all about how the characters interact. So let's just take Tony, our kind and helpful character. As you can imagine, most of the other characters in the story will like Tony. He'll be quite popular because he's kind. They'll probably admire Tony. He might even be the hero in our story. But Jenny, our evil character, she may not like Tony. She might be jealous of Tony. And this is what we call a character dynamic. And we want that in our stories because our readers, the people who read our stories, can then root for a particular character. They may like Tony. They may want to support him. They may want everything to go well for Tony. And with Jenny, they may want to kind of dislike her. So we want that dynamic, that relationship between different characters in our stories. So these are four things, and I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, sorry, the comments are absolutely flying in, which is brilliant. So I will read. Who is Tony? So Tony is just from Georgie Scott Kerr. So who is Tony? Tony's just a random character that I made up for the purposes of this workshop. He's a kind and helpful character, but he doesn't. There is actually a Tony in CEO who, and I've just realised that he is actually kind and helpful. But any of this isn't clear, please just write in the comment section, ask some questions, and I will answer them as soon as I can. But just to recap on that, so that's four things that we want to think about when we create characters. So number one, it's important that what the characters say is reflective of who they are as their personalities. That's important. Number two, we must, and likewise, number two, and likewise with what the characters do, the actions they take, they've got to reflect the personality of the character. Number three, we must know we must let the reader know what the character looks like. So we want to describe the character, we want to tell them about their physical appearance, but also what type of personality they are, whether they're a big commanding presence or someone who's quiet and meek. And so we want to describe our characters. And then finally, number four, we want some dynamics between different characters. So we want friendships, we want tension, and we want good and evil, and all of the kind of usual dynamics that we would have in a story. And again, this helps build a picture in the reader's mind about the characters, and will hopefully help them to feel like they're in the story, which is the ultimate aim for any author. We want to transport them from reality into our stories. So let me give you an example of why describing characters through their actions and what they look like is important. So in Odd Socks, most of the characters in this book are clothing items, their socks, their boxer shorts, their hair grips, their belts and ties. And so when we write about human characters, we can talk about hand movements or facial expressions or body language or posture. But when we have objects as characters, objects that aren't technically alive, they're not humans, they're not animals, we have to work so much harder to really bring to life for the reader about what the character is feeling at that moment in time and what they're trying to say or do. So let's have an activity. I would like you to think of any object. It could be a tennis ball, it could be a toilet roll, a bag of pasta, it could be anything. And then I want you to think of the object and then think of a name for the object, then write it down in the comments section. So if you can do that, that would be great. So for example, Boris the banana. So just think of an object. So on my desk right now, I have some moisturizer. Lip moisturizer. It's not mine, it's my wife's. So think of a character. So it could be Mike the moisturizer. So just this might sound random, but stick with me. You'll see what I'm trying to get. So let's have a look. The comments went in. Incredible. Billy the hairbrush. Fantastic. Bike. Do we have a name for bike? Cheese. Football. Glove man. Good. So we want a name as well. So football, it could be Freddie the football, or it doesn't have to begin with the same letter. Sarah the sanitizer. Love that, Michelle. Bit short of pasta and toilet paper. Not surprised. Very difficult to get to the shops at the moment. Log. That's a good one. So as you can see, some of you have got a name for the character and also an object. So very quickly, we have created a character which has a degree of personality. We've got the very basics, we've got a name, and then we can kind of have a visual of what they look like based on what object they are. While they're coming in now, Jenny the doll, I love cheese. Buggy the book, Ruby the rocking chair, Barney the book, Norman the notebook, brilliant. Jeff guitar, that's good. Lenny the laptop from Effie, lovely. So now you've got a character. So the purpose of this is it's so easy for us to come up with a character. This is a good exercise just to get your creative juices flowing. Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to look at the other characters that the other people have created, and there's lots of them now, fantastic. And I would like you to pick a character by liking it and then commenting on it, or replying, sorry. So like it, then reply, and reply with the name of your character. So a character which you think your character would be friends with. So Frank the football might be friends with Snippy the scissors, or maybe not. So pick another character that you can see on the screen that you think your character would be friends with. Good. I think they're coming. Wow, there's lots of characters that's coming through. Some rooms, Paul the bear, Bob the paper, Super Carrot, Penny the pencil, Chloe the sunflower. So people are starting to like Sarah the sock, Chew the banana. Chew the banana, I like that one. That's good. So people seem to be pairing up with other characters. So again, see what we've done there. In the space of 2 minutes, we have created a character. We've got a name. We've got a bit of a visual identity because of the object it is. And now we've also found another character which we think it would be friends with. So really deep down, we've got a bit of an inkling about what type of personality our character is. Now, and there's some actually quite popular ones there. Sarah the Sock is very sanitized. They're still coming in. Oh, Bobby the Bag friends with Sarah the Sanitizer. That's wonderful. Now, what I would like you to do is I would like you to pick another character which you think your character wouldn't get on with. So they would be enemies with, or just not friends with. So again, have a look, and you can just like Boris the Bike. Lots of them in London at the moment that are unused. And so good. So I can see again, there's more likes, more people pairing up. And they're still coming in. Fantastic. So again, what we've done now is we've created a character. We've got a name. We've got a bit of a visual description because of the object it is. But we've also chosen a friend for the character. And we've also chosen someone who they wouldn't be friends with, just in a very short space of time. And that is just the kind of basic first step that we can start to do when we create characters. And it might sound a bit random, and generally most stories have human beings in there, but actually if we can choose objects around us, we have to be a little bit more creative and really think about what they would be like if they were to come alive. So good exercise, which you can do as well, is maybe at some point this evening or this week, sit down, write down the name of the character that you've just created, and just think about the 4 things, some of the things that we talked about. So number 1, what would the characters say? Are they going to be a positive character, a supportive character? Would they support their friends? Or would they be quite nasty or spiteful? Or would they be jealous? And then number 2, what would the character do in the story? And what actions would they take? And number 3, how would you describe the character? And then number 4, how would they be seen by others? So you've already lots of things going on now. Fantastic. But again, this is a really good exercise which you can do just to get the creative juices flowing. And it's basically just putting down the information that comes into your head and getting it down on paper. And there's no bad idea. Whatever ideas you have, get them down on paper. So I hope, sorry, I'm being quite distracted. I need to figure out how I don't get distracted by all of these comments. But I hope we're nearly out of time now, and I hope all of that made a bit of sense. Before we finish, just for the last 2 minutes, I would like to talk about this 1,000 word story. So as I said at the beginning, for the younger children tuning in, please don't worry about the 1,000 words. Just write the length of story that you feel comfortable with. But the theme for the story is rainbows. So your rainbows, those beautiful things we see in the sky, red and yellow and green and blue and orange. I don't know if that's the correct colours for a rainbow. I'm sure someone will tell me if I'm wrong. But that is the theme for the story. So I would like you to write a 1,000 word story, or a story of a length that is good for you, that features a rainbow. It doesn't just have to be about a rainbow, but it should feature a rainbow. Rainbow doesn't need to be in the title of the story, but it should have a rainbow in it. And the reason I've chosen that is not just because rainbows are beautiful, but also rainbow seems to be a social media hashtag theme at the moment, with everybody staying at home. And I thought it would be quite a nice theme for us to work from. And so hopefully some of the tips and some of the notes that you've taken today about creating characters will come in use when you start to flesh out some ideas for this story that you're going to write. So a good starting point would be maybe to brainstorm some ideas with your family members about a story featuring a rainbow. I always run ideas by my wife. So with both of my books, my wife was integral into me kind of asking her about particular ideas or characters, and she provided me with lots of good suggestions. So you should always use the people around you for inspiration and ideas. So that is all we have time for right now. I hope that clear and useful. And so the story, actually some comments here, do we send you the story? Yes, so I'll provide more details on this. Thank you for that, Yelena. I'll provide more details on this next week. But so the aim is by the end of 6 weeks for you to complete a story. There's going to be a competition of some sort, and I'm still figuring that out. I'll probably have that figured out by next week. But you can send me the story at the end of the 6 weeks, and I will give you an address to send it to, an email address, and then we will announce some winners. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and really appreciate it. It's a beautiful sunny day here in the UK. Another, do we send you the 1,000 word story? Please reply because I have no idea. Hi, Han. Yes, you can send me the story, but this has got to be a new story. So if you've already written a story, please try and write another one, a new one, with a theme of rainbow or a rainbow in the story. That's the kind of whole concept. So thank you so much. I will provide an email address to send that story as we go throughout the weeks at a later date. Thank you all so much. I will try and come back to some of the ones. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great day. Be safe. Stay well. And peace and love. Take care. See you next week, 3 p.m. Wednesday for the next workshop. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.